Hello everybody! Welcome back to Building Blocks, where we program Minecraft mods live on camera, this time hosted by The Witch. This will actually be one of, if not the last streams hosted by The Witch. There is hopefully a CPU arriving in the next few days that will work for Elemental, and I will then be able to actually appear on camera in person again for the first time in like 2 weeks. But what we see on screen has been my personal definition of hell for the past week or two, because we finished up the entirety of the to-do list for Various Oddities, and then I was just going to shove that out so it would be fine and ready to go, and I could implement that into the Various Equipment mod and get that updated and everything as well. And then Forge decided to screw me over because, let me see, where's their announcements on this? Let's see, they have an announcement page for this. Yeah, well, suffice it to say, the Forge devs stopped supporting 1.16 about a week before I actually managed to get our to-do list finished. So I could compile Various Oddities 1.16.002, the first release version it's had in over a year, but then they wouldn't give me any kind of tech support whatsoever to figure out why things didn't work at all. So basically that compile is useless. And the only way that they'll give me actual help and assistance is if I update to a more recent version. So this is running inside of 1.19. And as you might notice, there's a fair few red X's over here. When I first moved this over to 1.19, there were in fact 17,000 errors. Yeah, 17,000. I have since been gradually whittling them down, and we are now sitting at 6,711 errors, which is still nonetheless going to take me a little bit of a while to actually get through before I can even make this code start. And then I will know exactly how much 1.19 has screwed me over. And a lot of this is just that they changed names of things. So, for instance, basically nothing is called entity whatever now. It's all just like, instead of fox entity, it is now just fox. Instead of wolf entity, it is now just wolf. Fine. Annoying, but fine. Then there are things that make no sense whatsoever. Like, they have changed a class that was formerly called Math Helper, did exactly what it says on the tin, to MTH. 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 I don't know why. It's an asinine change, but it broke a whole ton of things. They have also, and this I don't know why, they have renamed the world to Level, which is a little bit more in keeping with standard game design, except that Minecraft has used world for literally over a decade. They then also moved the entities, all of the entities, under the level, as opposed to being in their own packet out here. Which, again, has not been the case for over a decade. They just apparently decided to do it. And it has just been problem after problem like that. There's some structural changes, but most of it is just ridiculous little renames and moves that I have no meaningful explanation for. They just did it. So yeah, I'm through the majority of those. I have barely touched the client side of things, but items are fixed up, magic is fixed up, the majority of species and such are fixed up. There's just like a handful of little things that need to do. tweaking and whatnot. But it won't run at all right now. So consequently, I don't have a whole lot to show on that front, and I can't really do much for various equipment until I have this version done. So tonight, we're going to be doing something that I had planned to do for the, version 3 release, just so that I can maintain some shred of my sanity. Is it a standardization thing with other Microsoft coding stuff? It is entirely possible. I can't say for certain, but that is probably it. But a lot of these changes are just asinine. They make no sense. There is no value to, for instance, making Math Helper into Muff. There is no value to putting the entity package inside of the world package. All sorts. Like, entities shouldn't be related to the world. Like, they shouldn't be descended from the world like that. They should be added to it. It's weird. It's very weird. But anyways, tonight we are going to be working on behavior trees. So, to give you a real quick grounding in this, before we get started on this, there is a variety of different ways that video games have made mobs and entities and such behave. Like, move around, attack the player, that kind of thing. The earliest, one of the earliest at least, is called the Finite State Machine, or FSM. And that is basically a set of behaviors that are fully formed and can do whatever, that are linked together with specific ideas of when they should move between one another. Fairly straightforward. It's one of the easiest things to do. I have literally programmed it in Space Engineers before. Now, the trouble with the Finite State Machine, which by the way was used for like Half-Life. This is not like it's still used in a lot of cases. It's very good when it's dealing with like one problem, more or less. The problem with it is every state has to know about every other state inside the Finite State Machine, so they're very difficult to expand freely. You basically have to build them wholesale, and then they'll run. The other thing is that they're kind of hard to visualize, to the point that they literally look like some kind of alchemical diagram a lot of the time. So, yeah, it's, like, I'm seriously not even joking. These look like something out of Full Metal Alchemist. So, yeah. They're not very human readable, which is one of the big one of the big hurdles to making them actually, like, easy to use. Around about the time of Halo Combat Evolved, the OG Halo, if you will, long before it became Infinite, in apparently number of entries because they just won't stop making them, there became a thing called a behavior tree. And very simply put, a behavior tree is a flowchart. This is AI by flowchart. So we start up here, we get our questions, like, is the door open? Like, is there a door? Walk to it. If we're at the door, then go through this to open it, whatnot. Then walk through the door and then close it behind us. Straightforward. And we call it a tree because it quite literally looks like a tree. In fact, let me just see if I can. Yeah, there we go. So we start down here at the root, and then we go up these branches, and we eventually terminate here at a leaf, where something actually gets done. And all we have to do to add something new is just come up with one discrete thing, and then figure out the logic that goes from deciding to do it to actually doing it. Straightforward. So we know that there is a door that we need to walk through. Okay, we start by walking to it. We're now at the door. Okay, so now we need to decide what to do to it. Do we open it? If it's closed, if we can't open it, we need to unlock it, and then we can go through it. Like, all that sort of standard thing. And very simple, very easy. Every single leaf here is just one discrete action that we can reuse however we like, and all we had to change is when we do it and why. Very easy to expand. There are other AI systems out there. There's hierarchical task networks, for instance. There's the extremely popular goal-oriented action planning, which was used by Fear way back when. And they have their own merits. Like, finite state machines are still in use. This is all a matter of what you want the AI to do, how smart you want it to seem, how reliable you want it to be, and in the case of Minecraft, what is generally in use is called a task system. Or at least Minecraft used to call it that, but and what that basically is that every entity has a set of goals, which are basically just little behaviors, fully formed and whatnot. So let's see, an obvious one is avoid entity. And all of this does is every single one has a weight, so a like likelihood of being the thing that's selected to fire when it is able to fire, and it has conditions that say when it can fire, and then it just runs through whatnot until it can no longer continue, and then it just stops. Straightforward, and able to do some fairly complex stuff, except this AI system is basically from when Minecraft's most complex entity was a cow. So now we have things like the Ender Dragon, who has a multi-stage boss fight to them, and we have things like pillager raids. So we can actually, like, we have way more complex things going on that are actually typically able to be handled out by a task system, because fundamentally, a task system is choosing what to do at every frame randomly. It can make some things more likely, and it can make those very likely things fire under specific circumstances. So, for instance, weight 0 here, this is the, like, pretty much guaranteed to be the thing we pick whenever it is valid to fire, is floating, so continuing to swim upwards whenever you're in water. And we can do stuff like that, and it makes things work okay, but it means that your creatures are basically unpredictable. The phase system of the Ender Dragon is basically unusable anywhere else. I'm not even sure if there is AI in here. That's how, like, heavily, like, scripted, essentially, the Ender Dragon is. So behavior trees are advantageous compared to the task system for making mobs that you know are going to do certain things based on certain events. So, in a standard, like, cover shooter, like, first-person shooter game, chucking a grenade at somebody who's behind cover will usually cause that person to leave cover and go away from the grenade. It's predictable. You might not know exactly when they're going to move between cover, you might not know exactly where they're going to move, but chucking a grenade at that person will generally, we expect, cause them to move. And that happens most frequently because of a behavior tree firing, saying, nearby grenade, find a different place to go, move. Ideally in a rapid and hasty manner, possibly screaming at the same time. So tonight we're going to be trying to make these, because I want to use them especially for companions. Companions are going to be player, like, recruited creatures that you can give different commands to and tell them to do different things, and they need to be useful, and they need to be reliable, or else there's not really much point in the players actually doing it. Wolves are a decent example of something that already fills that kind of niche. But how many times have we accidentally left-clicked our friend only to have them be mauled by our horde of wolves? On occasion, wolves that have teleported to us just to eat them. So they're a little bit funky that way. And there's also, like, whenever the owner gets hurt, they automatically do the targeting, and then they go and attack the thing, and it's, again, this is all random. Generally speaking, their targeting AI actually, like, overrides most of their AI for, like, actual priority, but it's still pretty rough. pretty rough. Pretty woof arf bark snarl. And we want to have more intelligent things than that. Also, don't teleport fast enough because they touched water and then get left behind. Yeah, yeah, it's a weirdness. So I want to use behavior trees to make things more reliable, more predictable, potentially even a bit smarter, and way easier for me to expand, because I can just have a standardized behavior tree that I can just shove into however many entities I want. But okay, assuming everyone has grasped, so far, the nature, at least, of a behavior tree. A behavior tree is made up of a set of pretty standard, simplistic types of node. Node being a given point here. So there's the root node, which is always that's always the entry point. That's where our tick starts. And here we have a sequence node, which does these things in order. So in this case, it is walk to door, make sure door is open, walk through door, close door behind us. One after the other. As each one finishes, the next one gets started. We have a selector, which uses... but basically it is a set of different tasks, and it only does the first one that says, yes, I can be done here. So if the door is closed and unlocked, we just open it. If the door is locked and we can't open it, then we smash it. Here we have another sequence, just like back there, so unlock, then open. Either way, the end goal of this particular branch, if you will, is that the door is passable, effectively. There are also nodes called decorators, which are basically conditionals. They only return true if their internal conditions are met and the nodes below them say, yep, sure, we're good. And then there are parallels, which basically, unlike the selector or the sequence, they do every single task they have simultaneously, and they only stop when one of them fails for whatever reason. Either because it's finished or because of something else happened. So there's a variety of different pieces that we need to get working for this can actually happen, and we're going to start all of it tonight. So, I have been looking forward to trying this for an age. I apologize, therefore, if the witch on screen here is a little bit, well, semi-manic, because I'm going to be I use the number keys to actually animate them, but also is a little bit static because I'm going to be typing up a storm. The witch was not designed to be hosting building blocks, but circumstances, basically. Circumstances. Okay. So, let's start with a node. We're going to just need just a very basic thing here, and we are going to need some kind of tick, as well as some degree of knowledge of what it's currently doing. So, let's see. Public abstract, say get results. And we're going to want, let's see, keyboard volume. Yeah, this is not my usual setup. this is a year or so back behind my setup. So, yeah, things we deal with today. Okay. Straightforwards. And we're probably going to want an entity inside of here, but for the time being it's more or less fine. Put mob here. Just so we know. In theory, we also want to be able to ask the node what node is running, because we're running this at the root, and we want to know, ideally, what leaf is then set in motion. Reminds me of that one Technoblade clip where he's typing while other people are doing lore and it's louder than the people talking. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Okay, let's try having ourselves a little bit of a state in here. And then we can actually have it be set. So we want, based on this mob, to know what our current, like, to know whether or not we can fire, or whether we can continue firing, that sort of thing. Under most circumstances, this is probably going to be based on some kind of conditional, that kind of deal. But I think that's good so far, and let's just put in our little tick. And we'll actually just have that be default to don't do anything. Okay. Very basic node class. Which stuff I've been doing recently is generally getting you back into the fixation from however many years ago it was. Oh, rewatch of Witch in the Woods and or Yokai Temple, maybe, you know. I'm happy to hear that. I knew people would enjoy seeing Witch on screen like this. But, yeah. Okay. So, let's start with our selector. Always the Archfey. Maybe revamping the cosplay isn't fun? Ooh, that's a good idea. So just giving this an internal list of nodes. Okay. So, the node result for this is going to be equal to basically running through our list of nodes in order and finding out which one, the first one, is either successful or is running currently. In theory, we can expand this later on to say in like which direction, so first or last node, or even randomly selected between successful nodes, that kind of thing. Okay, so if, let's see if I can do this. We want the first one that isn't fail, essentially. So if result does not equal failure, return result. And then otherwise return failure. And we'll save ourselves a little bit of bother by actually getting that. And we want to say, let's see, running node, tick. Okay. So we run through, we find the first one that's not basically inert, and we get it to run. It might be good then to have a boolean in here to say whether or not we're running currently, if a given node is running. But I think that's mostly okay for the hot minute, anyways. Okay, let me just break this down a little bit. Let's see. Returns predicate results, or conditional, I guess. Easier to understand. Predicate's a little predicate is a little obscure. Right. One down, more to go. So, unlike the selector, we're not looking for the first node that doesn't fail. We're looking to start whichever one goes and then keep ticking over until we're actually able to have anything running. We do want to use more or less the same detail here as the selector, so let's have that extend from it. I'm trying to think here. We want an index of a current node. Let's have this index be -1 by default. So if index is less than 0, we run that. Otherwise, we just need to return node results.running. But then we mostly just want to be running super at that point. Well, what? We want to go through, find the index of our first sequence piece that actually works. So let's see, for int I 0, I is lower than child nodes dot size I plus plus. So let's see, if index is greater than or equal to 0 at the end of that, then actually we can make this even cheaper. There. Okay. So if, let's see, child nodes dot get I dot get result mob in does not equal failure, then index equals I and break. There. Okay. Straightforward. Give or take. It's a little more esoteric to read, but it's fine. Alright, next stop. Parallel. Do everything. So once again, extending from node selector so that we can add children to it. Child and parent is one of the usual ways by which programmers describe having a thing with descendant things, as it were. A thing of things, if you will, a list of lists, that sort of thing. There's a number of kind of very old terms in computing like that, a couple of which are worth abandoning, in my personal opinion. I don't think we need to be referring to things as master and slave anymore. There's not really any good reason to do that, but oh well. this one gets a little bit more complicated. Because in order for this one to work, we need to basically run everything until nothing is running. Or run everything until at least one thing isn't actually running. So as soon as one fails, all of them do so. Okay, and it's basically straightforward here. We just run every single child node. And let's have ourselves a private boolean in here. Just to tell us exactly whether or not we've actually started running our list here, or... Okay. And when that happens, then we need to actually tell it to reforce again. There. So once it starts, off it goes. Until any one of them fails. Okay. What's interesting is this is very storable. Currently with the task system AI of Minecraft, basically no value is stored. Mobs, every time that they are running, have to reconstruct their entire AI state. Just like every single frame. Whereas this, we can actually quite happily store it, because the structure doesn't change. The only interior values we care about is like index here, that's one integer, a boolean for the parallel. It's pretty straightforward. We could easily store this in a data structure very cheaply, and then when the game loads up, the mobs know exactly what they were doing, rather than having to, like, figure it out again. Okay, we've got our selector, we've got our sequence, we've got our parallel, now we have decorators, otherwise known as conditionals. I don't exactly know why they're called decorators, but yeah. I should record a keyboard ASMR. And it's a very nice clickety-clackety keyboard. I don't know how many people would want to hear me typing away, but I guess I could use it as background noise or something. Okay, so unlike the other ones, this only has one child node. So, and it also needs a predicate enjoy the noises very stimulating. Yeah. I can agree with that. Okay. So, if not condition applied to that, then so if this condition doesn't make any sense to that, so say, well, we need to find our way through a door, but there is no door. That kind of thing. In this case, the decorator node could be down here, inside, like in between selector and the sequence. It's like, is the door closed? Or is the door locked here? That kind of thing. So, otherwise, return child node, get result. If we wanted to be really, really pernickety about this, we could theoretically give every single node a predicate input, but it makes things a little harder to understand visually just because you need to know what everything is doing and why. Theoretically, a selector can have a predicate for every single output, but it's really, yeah, gets heady. Gets heady at that point. There. Okay. And now we have but one more thing to do here. Why does it seem like... There they are. Why are they hiding? Why does it seem like some of my nodes here have gone walkies? Eh. Sorry for the rambles, that's fine. Definitely no worries there. Okay. Finally, our most important node, the leaf. Which, it's always going to return true. Because it has no real qualms otherwise. We just need to know the running part. Sort of similar to the parallel, I guess. You have a friend called Leaf? Are they non-binary? just out of curiosity. A trans mask? Yep. I'm hardly one to talk. I'm lying, for God's sake. I'm lying. I live with fuzz. It's like, yeah, it's a well-known thing that the LGBT community loves weird names, especially if they're objects and nouns. Oh, I'm an adjective, so there. Okay, so basically, we hit this thing, running, everything starts, then continue ticking. So let's tidy this up a little bit. So if not running equals true, and return node result.success. That's your actual name now? Oh, congratulations! There. Otherwise we can return that. I think having a running would probably help things. Just as a standard here, so where's my node? It's apparently there, but I don't believe you. Hang on, my node's gone walkies. There you are. Okay. Okay, protected boolean. And let's have that be an actual thing. Rather than it just being set boolean is now true. I think I can happily make that an abstract. Okay, so we run, we get the first success, we then set that to be running until it no longer says it's running, basically. In which case we don't really need success at that point, we just need to wait for it to stop running. Actually, no, we don't need that one. There we go. Let's see, if index is less than that, then we want to say success. If index is greater than or equal to 0, then we know we're running, basically. Let's see. And in this case, we want to return success and just set us to running. There. Or actually, we can just do that. Much easier. So currently, this does nothing. Click on your entire computing GCSE. If it makes you feel better, I have a degree. I have an entire computing bachelor's degree that I got like 7-8 years ago. I remember nothing. Everything you are seeing me do on screen today, I have never done before, never learned at university. It is just things that I know how to do by sheer osmosis more than anything else. So, yeah. Education, a little bit weird, sometimes. Okay, is there any tidying up I can do around here? Feel like I can tidy this up. Is that not public? Is undefined for that? Did I not just define that up here? Yes, public boolean is running from node. Right there. Did I mistype something? No? What do you mean? Oh, node selector doesn't extend out of node. Huh. Weird that I completely overlooked that. Huh. Okay. So let's see. For the parallel, we continue. We only set it to be not running whenever one of these finally fails. So if, let's see, node get results. mob in equals node results dot fail, then set running false. Okay, in that case, we actually also don't need that to do that, because it can just be basically the same as down here. It can just always fire. But it should... I'm trying to think. Does this need to start running whenever anything can run? Or just stop running whenever one thing can't? I'm gonna say that all of them have to be true before any of them run. This is minutia, but nonetheless. Let's add some descriptions here. And since we only have two results here, two possible results, we can just reduce this to a boolean. So let's see, does not equal fail is now true, effectively. Okay. That just wants to be a not. In which case we want to actually return that conditional and then that. And this can just be always true. Okay, I will be back in about 10 minutes for my first break of the evening, and then we'll see if we can organize some kind of discrete structure that makes this do a thing. We're also going to start talking about what a blackboard is. So, catch you momentarily. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break there. So, before we left off there, we had developed all of our different nodes that we're going to need to make ourselves a little behavior tree. So we have the leaf, which basically just does whatever we tell it to do. We have the decorator, which only fires if indeed its conditions are met, and then it'll just keep firing as long as its descendant is. We have the parallel, which runs as long as any given one of its children can and is running. And then we have the selector, we have the sequence next, rather, which basically goes through everything step by step. As each node finishes running, then it goes to the next one that can actually still run, unless it would be, unless it's at the end of its run, essentially. And it just keeps running until it runs out of things to do. Then we have the selector, which fires the first result, the first node that it has that will actually run at all. Pretty straightforward. So let's see, we want to, just real quickly, add a little bit of check here. So, if get active node does not equal null, then get active node set running. There. And our boolean for the selector should also be dependent upon the descendant node, as it were. There. So for pretty much everything but the leaf, whether or not it's running currently is dependent upon some node at the bottom being actually running. Pretty straightforward. Okay. So, let's try and assemble ourselves a whiteboard. Now, a whiteboard is effectively a notepad. It's a little thing that mobs can use to store information of the world, and that can be where their where their house is, where a villager's bed is, where their workstation is, that kind of thing. And from there, our behavior tree can use things like its different selectors, but most specifically its decorators, can use that to tell exactly what it's then going to be able to do and exactly how to do it. So we can have values like current point of interest as a block position, and we just set that with one of our leaf nodes in a sequence, and then the next one is go to current point of interest, and that just sends them wherever we want to go based on our data. Pretty straightforward. The way that we're going to do this is that we're going to have a hash map. A hash map is basically, if you think of an array is a set of objects in a specific order, and each one has an index. In the case of a map, those indexes are actual strings. So instead of being 0, 1, 2, 3, it can be bed position, work position, that kind of thing. So we want to have private final, this would be a map of string object. So we want that to be values equals new hash map. Okay, and then we can quite simply have public, let's say, let's get a boolean for has value. And then we want a handful of fairly common things that we're going to want. So let's just say we have a get for whatever, really. But then we want things like vectors, block positions, entities, that kind of thing. And we can also have a variety of different things that are just like, here's what we're currently holding, here's what our health is, here's what enemy we're currently targeting. That sort of detail. And it can be... whiteboards can get pretty heavy. But one important detail is that whiteboards can also be hierarchical. So we can have the whiteboard of values specific to a given entity, and then we can have the whiteboard specific to a group of entities, and a whiteboard specific to entities that are operating in a given location, like a dungeon, for instance. And all of those can be descendant. So if you... basically, we can compound them all together into a cake, like a layered cake, if you will. And then the behavior tree of the entity can use all of the information from that cake, rather than just its own little slice. But out in the wild, being just like hanging out by itself, it can just use its entity data. Pretty easy. A nice, lovely, delicious layer cake whiteboard. God, now I kind of want to call this a layer cake instead of a whiteboard. But but let me see here. Block position, vector. We can also just have some like general values in here that are just automatically here, but we'll keep it for right now as, let's see, block position, vector. Those are the two real major ones that I can think of. Like, those are the two that come up the absolute most commonly. Well, for right now, I'll leave it there. And then we'll just have a public void of update. Okay. And let's actually descend these a little bit. Got your pose eruption? Hey, grats! Okay. So we can have our main whiteboard class here, and then down here we can say that every time we update this, which we will do shortly before the behavior tree updates, we can update some specific values. So let's have float in here. Okay, so we want to say that every time that we update this, we want to make sure we have the latest detail of where the mob currently is, what its health is at, that sort of detail. So, set value mob health to the mob get health. So now we know specific things are always going to be present inside of this particular whiteboard. I'm also going to put entity in here. What's on my schedule today? Today we are making a behaviour tree system. Because otherwise we would be sitting here while I laboriously went for about 6,357 or whatever it is errors to get Various Oddities working in 1.19. So far we have all of our different nodes plugged together, so now we are making the whiteboard that the behaviour tree will be using as data storage, essentially. So, we've got the basis of our whiteboard put together here. We have an entity whiteboard. We can expand that later on to be things like the group whiteboard, that kind of thing. And we are just going to be running through a particular example. But first, in order to tick this, and in order to get the result, we also need access to at least a whiteboard. So we need to refactor this. Probably call that storage, honestly. I think I called it a blackboard before this, just before the break there, but it's interchangeable, really. It's anything where you can just put data. In theory, we don't really need much in the way of an actual whiteboard class. It is basically just a it is basically just a hash map with getters with getters and setters. Basically, it's not dreadfully complicated. But having it as being its actual own like class is handy because it means we can make things be by default always there. So let's see. That's storage. An important thing to note is that behavior trees, task systems, and finite state machines have no concept of planning. And the simplest example I can give of a planner inside of AI and whatnot, and how video games make things run, is literally a pathfinder. What a pathfinder does is it scours the area around and figures out what sequence of movements a particular mob has to take to get from A to B. That is a planner in purest essence, if you will. And those are really useful. Those are, to a certain degree, those are pretty much vital for basically every game you can make these days. But depending upon the kind of vibe you're going for your game, they can tend to make your mob seem omniscient. For a great example is when you have a maze and you send a zombie through it to try and munch on a villager. If you then rush ahead of it and put some blocks in its path, it immediately updates its navigation, even though it has basically no chance whatsoever of having actually seen you make that change. The zombie just seemingly knows. It's omniscient. Planners are very good for taking simple potential actions, stringing them together, and making the entity seem really intelligent. But they have that potential negative of seeming like the entity knows way more than you have any chance of doing so. And depending on how far ahead you let the entity plan as well, it can sometimes seem insurmountable. Because if it can recalculate its plan when you've broken down, say, step 30 of its plan, then more or less everything you do feels a little bit pointless because it always manages to figure something out. So in the case of the zombie, that's figuring out its brand new path despite the fact that it's miles away from where it needs to actually recalculate. So planners are a thing that I'd really like to do. I'd love to try and make one in Space Engineers, because it would save me so much time, but it's almost impossible to do in Space Engineers because of how little information I have access to there. But mobs fundamentally always have only as much information as you actually give them. So this whiteboard, if you will. And what you can do, especially with things like this whiteboard, is limit how much information they have. So you make like a limit to say they can only plan like 5-10 steps ahead, and then they have to plan for the next hunk of things. And then you only give them access to specific amounts of information based on the entity in the world. So it only knows about a doorway to a specific area unless it's been in the area where that door is. The downside to that is that now you have to be storing information, a lot of information, on a per entity basis, which makes the memory costs really, really big. Which is fine if you only have like a handful of mobs doing that, but as soon as you have like the standard spawn cycle of Minecraft, for which there can be about 70 hostile mobs, that gets to be overwhelming, and your system just melts, essentially. But okay. So we now have our behavior tree, we have our whiteboard, that's storing some handy details about our things. Let's just add mob block boss here as well. Just so we know it's always there. And now we need to implement ourselves both giving a mob a whiteboard and having that be updated, and giving ourselves a behavior tree. So let's see, we want private final node, call that the root. And we're going to need a whiteboard, and we're going to need our node. I think that's all good. Okay. So, public void tick for our mob. So we want the whiteboards. I want it to be an entity whiteboard at that point. I think it wants to be an entity whiteboard. Yeah, it's fine. I thought ahead. So we tick the whiteboard to update all the information there. And then we get that and that. And now the hard part for us is knowing exactly which node should be running, because we need to return whichever one did and set it to be running. So this will just tell us if anything in our place, if anything in our whiteboard can run. Now all of our descendant nodes will actually tell us the thing. Let's see, set running. Here it sets it to the active node. So, trying to think. Is running in most cases is just going to be, again, the descendant. So we can probably say if root is running, root.tick, else if that result is going, then set running. And that should ripple down all of the way. I hope. We won't know for sure until this actually gets running at all. So let's start by blocking out a very basic, very quick little behavior tree. And next we're going to need an actual entity to do this with, which is going to be interesting, because I have yet to implement any such entities inside of 1.19. So hold on to your butts, everybody. It's about to get very not AI. Let me just open up the 1.19 VO code space. Trying to do perspective and foreshortening, my beloved. I mean, there's a lot of programs you can use now for just, like, blocking out an extremely simple scene in 3D. And that helps a lot. It's like, I guess it's the natural evolution of the good old, like, posing figurine that artists tend to use. Doing this traditional with one reference. I mean, traditional art had people. the original artist's figurine was a person. Just saying. Obviously, test entity doesn't exist just yet, but we're working on it. Skip the reference for a hot minute. Photograph myself when I need bigger poses? Yeah, true, true. Oh, hello, Spunky. How you doing? Is it spawn egg or spawn egg item? Spawn egg item. Let's see, something kept its item. Is there something to you that I've overlooked? Not seeing anything. And as near as I can tell from the vanilla items, currently, every single spawn egg is generated individually. Let me see, where are we? Yep. Time was, it just automatically populated all of the spawn eggs. Now, there's this. Which is pretty horrifying, really. Like, how much specific detail do you have to put in here? This is... Oy. Rough. Real rough. Would you say that's egg in your face? Eh. That's that. Skip the reference, fix that note. Okay, so that registers an egg. We now need to just... Firstly do that. Secondly, we need to actually create our entity, which, again, not a thing I've had to do yet. So, here goes. Superclass for this will be Pathfinding Mob, because I think that's what used to be called Creature Entity. I'm fairly certain, at least. Good start. Good start. Okay, we do need to register some attributes for it, though, because otherwise it will just instantaneously fail. I don't think we need to worry too much about making sure it actually, making sure it has rendering, mostly. Couldn't honestly tell you for sure at this stage of figuring things out, because I've just been squishing bugs. Or not even squishing bugs, I've been squishing errors. Can I just say Pathfinder mob dots? There we go, create those attributes. Saves myself a little bit of time. I'm starting to think I should just make a reference here. This is going to be a great test for whether or not everything I've been making Various Oddities do recently works at all. There was a second place I did that, right? Wasn't there? I'm sure there was. Nope, I think we're good. Okay, this should automatically subscribe itself, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. It then calls the item section, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. Which should mean there should be an entity as well as a spawn egg in here now. Without me having to do a thing. Should being the very operative word, so let's find out, I suppose. Was there anywhere else I just had to type example mod dot? I don't think so, and there's like 6 classes here, so it's probably fine. Let's just see if this works at all to start with. Oh, I need to do a thing that I've forgotten to do for this particular instance. Decided to do backlighting. Backlighting generally is easier to shade than basically anything else you could imagine. Just gotta wait for this to for Eclipse to know how to boot this thing. Quite why it's going through the Minecraft assets, I don't know, but it is. I will say, some tiny shred of credit to the Forge developers. They have made it easier to set up workspaces now. Because it's basically just unzip into a folder, target Eclipse at a thing, import the project from that folder, run this. It's much, much, much more convoluted and hard to understand. That's probably about as much fanfare as you'll be seeing me give the Forge devs ever. Especially after the 17,000 errors that they just gave me this past week. Ugh. I did not need that right on the cusp of releasing a new version. Ugh. But okay, that's right. Let's see if this will work at all. Stairs be like that sometimes? Yeah. Hi Dave, good to see you. I'm about to find cowardly refusing to send event due to a broken mod state. Well, that's a good sign. Failed to load, except... That's dreadfully helpful. Dreadfully helpful. Null at the automatic subscribers. Okay. I love that despite it failing, it is nonetheless proceeding to play the menu music at full volume. Oi. Push you, push. Da-da-da-dum. So what happened there? Was that related to our meta information? Not that I can see. Is that our build Gradle being weird? Probably. This does not need to have an actual meaningful name here, it just needs to run. Very soothing error screen, I guess. Yep, there's our mod ID. Let's actually direct that to our reference file now. Everything else I can see looks fine. It was literally just this. What is your problem? Not applicable for the arguments string and supplier. How do we get the suppliers? The next question for me. Because that's just taking an item. No, a supplier. Do I need to give it? Yep. I swear they change how to register things, like every version, I swear. Such a pain. What is your problem there? There. Behave. Guessing you want to make a supplier. Like so. Okay. Now behave. I think that's basically everything. I think. I thought it was everything before, so who knows, but let's give it another shot. Nope, cowardly, again. Thanks for that, Minecraft. Do not need full volume piano into my ears, thank you very much. Oy. Failed to register automatic subscribers. Example mod. Okay. Registry is already frozen. Dreadfully handy, that. Let's see. We only have the one automatic subscriber. It's right here. Let's see. Entities.register mod event bus. Maybe that'll help it. Who knows? Jump scare sting. Be smoothed. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So if that's registering everything there, we logically need to add the listener of our X entities piece. Add listener X entities. Is it register attributes? Yeah, register attributes. Me? Gremlin mode? Are we sure? Okay, I guess. Happy now? Here I be, gremlin for thee. Yep. Say hi to gremlin mode, Dave. If you haven't been exposed to gremlin mode yet. Right, okay. So now there's no automatic subscribers whatsoever. The only thing we're registering is that. Hopefully this is in the right sequence. Let me boot. Dang it. It's meant to be a fox, but clearly there were problems. Well, we have a different error now. Now we have a crash. That's technically going backwards. Encountered an error during common setup event phase. Okay. Exception initializer for the event bus, mod container, something to do with the entities being registered. Cannot register new entries to deferred register after a register event has fired. When does it get fired then? Common setup, is that it? I cannot presume it is. But then how to... Oi, this is annoying. What I normally do in a case like this is I will find a mod in the same version, on the same platform, Forge in this case, and see what they did to get this to work, because otherwise I have to go and ask the Forge devs. And that's, Sisyphean, to say the least, because you have to be so specific to get any kind of useful answer from them. Because otherwise they are the most smarmiest, most annoying, frequently the most arrogant and unhelpful people imaginable. I hear tell Fabric isn't much better, but yeah. So it's definitely complaining about the entities part. If I just comment that out of curiosity. And we don't make any reference to entities. Will this boot at all to begin with? Bearing in mind, minus those two lines, this is basically what it's shipped with. Like, nothing else here will be running. Missing textures and stuff. Hoi! Okay. Cease. Silence. Okay. All good. Let's have this be creative. Might as well put it on peaceful. Super flat, because why not? Oh, I can't deal with how massive this is. Sure, keep inventory. No raids. Small briefing off. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, spawn wardens. That's a new one. I think that's about it. Okay. Go. Give me world. There we go. Okay. If we... Yep, example block. Vex spawn egg. Wow, it looks almost like the missing block from Various Equipment. Popular mod. But okay, right. Next question. If we only have one of these lines in, does it fire? Because this seems to be the point where it should go. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the way this is organized. This is built in very much a single class mod kind of style, which are great for footprints of files, but that's about it. Okay, that ran. Presumably that means we now actually have our egg for our test entity. Should be like miscellaneous. Nope, apparently not. Okay, why not? Okay, so registering the entity didn't apparently register the entity. And if I turn this on, Suddenly there's a problem. Do I have to call that first? So it will then populate the registry and then register. Let's find out. That's probably why actually we didn't have an egg, because we called entities before X entities was referenced, hence there was no entity to reference. Problem with main. Okay. What was the problem with main? Cannot register new entries after the register event has been fired. I could have sworn that I had already handled this. Ay, ay, ay. How to make this work? Why does you think that this isn't gonna work? Right here, it's literal startup right here. Blame it on Spain? Why Spain? What do you have against Spain, Marsh? I'm so confused, I've reverted to normal form. Okay, let's do what I usually do, which is find a mod in the same period that actually like does the thing. Let's see, version 119. Oh, blame the main on Spain? Yeah. The main in Spain crashes mainly on the plane. Okay, should be... Let's see, mops. Obvious place to start, here. AI improvements, what a surprise, that's basically what I'm doing right now. Okay, Alex's mops. Please have your source. Yes, good. That reminds me of Mo Creatures so much. Let's see here. So there's all the basic things setting up. There's the entity register. Registering. Okay. I'm not seeing entity attributes in here. So presumably it's happening in there. And that is located in entity. Where it should be. Okay, so there's all the registry objects for the entity types. All immediately registered like that. Okay. Spawn placements, attributes. And this is also automatically registered. Interesting. Yep, that's exactly what we got there. As near as I can tell, we're doing this just fine. Is it just because we're not static? Is that it? Nope, we are static. Never mind. It's not that. Is it because of how register entity is done? Nope, because it's just basically the same exact thing. Block, entity, then item. It would annoy me so intensely much if it was literally just the order that we put these things in. But let's find out. Okay. Wasn't the order. Cannot register new entries to the deferred register after register event has been fired. What do you mean after register event has been fired? Well, let's plonk this actually in X entities. And then let's make this an actual auto register. Now I'm actually gonna have to reference it to figure out what the thing was here. Oh, I wonder if that's related. Wait, no, that's the mod. Never mind. Okay. So now as soon as we reference X entities, that register gets populated, and then should hopefully be fine. Should being the operative word, because I'm running over my break time here. Nope, still broke. Registry is already frozen. What do you mean it's already frozen? It only just now came into existence. Hey, right, I'm gonna take my break. And hopefully over the course of that break, I figure out what is preventing our test entity from entering existence. So, back in about 10 minutes, everybody. Oh boy. This is going to be very irritating, I fear. At least I'm getting to a new problem. Registry example, or registry object not present now. Example mod test. Pretty sure it should be present at this point. So what's wrong with it? Also, I had to take out the eggs completely here, so apologies to that. Just cut out a middleman here. Because for whatever reason, registering the type and then using that to register the egg created problems. So, yeah, here I am. So what do you mean example mod test is having trouble? Like, what's going on there? Do I have to store the registry object? Is that it? That's about the only thing I can think of. Then what's your problem? Bleh to bleh. Pretty sure it's fine. Pretty sure it's fine. No error? Oh, error. Test.get. There. Was that? No. What is your problem now? Da-da-da-da-dum-da-dum-da-dum. Did I make the witch VTuber? Yep. Entirely from scratch. On camera so that the patrons could see, actually. So, yee. Special bonus content. We basically spent the entirety of June making all of these. A large portion of that just making a default thing and then adding actual animation and After Effects and all sorts. It's not the most complicated of VTubers by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a GIF. It's just a series of GIFs, basically. But it works. Let's see, what is that registry defined as? Yep. Oh, am I gonna have to make this really irritating? I may have to. May have to. Okay. Fine. It's gonna force me to not use a function to make this neat and tidy. Yeah, name's correct, so that gets the builder. Just a cast? Nope, not just a cast. What is going on with this now? It's cute. It makes me want to try making one. I'm sure it won't go exactly the same as trying to make a Pikachu. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Blue! And presumably also girls. Hey! Good to see ya. Good to see ya. Hope you had fun on your art stream. I have been screaming at Forge for about half of this stream so far. But we're getting somewhere, at the very least. Right, let me just copy a line here. Just so I can see exactly what Alex Mobs does. Here. Okay, register objects. Yep, we've got that correct. There's our register. Yes, so far so good. Oh, it has the name at the start and the end. Oh. That's irritating. Would prefer not to do that. But so far, it's not letting me have any choice in the matter, so... bleh. Okay, and then what happens with the... what does the register entity function do specifically? Literally just this. But it's not an error, so that's good. That's progress. Type arguments. Where would I put those? About here. Nope. There you go. Is that not... what's missing now? Register entity does take a name, so what are you complaining about? Don't know why it's complaining there. Yes, we've got this pretty exactly the same. Why is it complaining? Probably because I did type back on arguments. There. Now it's fine and dandy. Hopefully that means it'll actually boot. Hopefully. Had fun it was suitably scatterbrained? Good to know. Good to know. Okay. Please work. Please work so I can attempt to use my behavior tree. If I see the word I'm very unhappy. Okay. Well, we're here. Test? Nope. Fine. Didn't give it. No, give it. It's a. There we go. Okay. Dang it! What happened now? Cannot invoke entity renderer. Right. So now it's complaining that we don't have a renderer. I was hoping it would do the usual thing and just create a white cube, but apparently not. Okay. Ooh, hang on, pathfinding renderer. Debug? What? Kinda curious what that is, but I'm pretty sure it's not what I want. Humanoid? Oh. guess. That'll do. It's fine if it doesn't have, like, a texture. It's fine, really, if it doesn't have a model at all, but... Oy. What is your complaint? Apparently you want a model part. Zombie, explain. Model part, what? Okay. Zombie villager? Oh, these are models. Still. Okay. Renderer. Piglin will do just fine. Creates model. What? Oh, if I give this thing, like, a piglin model, this is just gonna be so messed up. Layer renderer, will you help me? Okay, so bake layer gets model part from the context. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is a lot more complicated than it has any need to be. Model layer location. So what was it for players? Model layers. Okay. Let's say that one? Oh sure, now you don't worry about it. Ugh. Should be I gave you parameters and you complained at me. Alright, so now presumably there's something inside of here to actually register the renderers. Somewhere in here, for sure. Let's see. Render Gazelle. Where is Render Gazelle registered? Client proxy. Oh god. Setting up proxies is always a massive pain in the neck. Can I just import over the Various Oddities 119 one? God, I hope so. I really hope so. I really, really hope so. Okay, don't need. Nope, all good. I think most of this is fine to get rid as well. Just burn it all, basically. What's your problem there? Make a context. Well, at least not the right one. What is your problem? That is definitely written identical to how it is in here, so... Ah, right. That is a registry object. Okay. Yeah?
I'm still wheezing because of gremlin mode.
I'm glad to know, Dave. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I will be adding some other little bits and pieces over time, but for right now this is what we got. Chiefly because I've been heavily involved with getting A, Various Oddities to work properly in 1.19, and B, figuring out how to get Elemental running so that this whole shebang can be running as it was originally intended. They aren't a VTuber, they're a WTuber, a WitchTuber. Well, I do live in a tube. That has to be said. It's a very rocky tube, it's a very dark tube, and it's very wet at one end. But it's a tube nonetheless. How many images is the WitchTuber made up of? There are 9 different states that I can show about now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, about nine different states. Most of the states don't have a separate blinking because it's just built into the GIF. But they all have a different talking. So that is about 18 different 18 different GIFs, and each GIF is about 5 seconds long, about 60 FPS. So it's a lot of frames, that's for sure. But yeah, I think it came out pretty okay. Plus, I also the entire thing is effectively a puppet that has been rigged inside of After Effects, so I can make new animations however I like, pretty easily. Right, looks like I don't need to have this be an actual... looks like I don't have to need... I don't need this to be actually an event bus. So now, I just need to actually put the proxy in to the main class. What is your problem? Cannot convert from object to common proxy. Pardon? That doesn't make much sense at all. And then proxy init is happening down here. There. Oh, the server proxy is messed up, that's why. Nope, still got a problem. What's up? What do you mean you cannot cast from object to common proxy? Both of these things descend from common proxy. Oh, it's because there's... Alex Mobs only has client proxy and common proxy, so this wants to be server proxy. I think. There you go. Okay. Now we should be registering an actual renderer. Who knows if this will explode or not? We'll find out, I guess. Yeah, I think Marsh, since in the time that you've been going, we also have Russell. Russell is a Witch-Eye Raven, who predates this model, particularly, and is used for, like, handling any like, incoming communications I have, like, Discord or TeamSpeak. Russell is the one relaying it. Okay, what happened this time? Registry object not present, apparently. At the time of the proxy, despite the fact that we clearly register it right there. Why? Like Phil says Brian? I wouldn't know who Brian is, but pretty much. Oh, does that have... It said client in it. Should I be doing that on client side then, probably? Probably that's it. Fills his text-to-speech crow. Ah, I see. Right. See if that resolves it. Fingers crossed. Can I go wide down? Okay. Nice guy. Thanks for stopping by. Chatter all crows, Brian realized the message is to fill in the lore. Ah! Well, in the lore of the witch, there's a very large number of Witch-Eye Ravens, of which Russell is one. Another one that gets the most contact with the witch. Okay, no crashing so far. It's birds all the way down. Well, this is interesting. Oh. I thought I'd broken the renderer completely for a hot second there. But no, I was just inside of our test entity. Okay. I was in the Steve void, yes. Right. Okay, we have our test entity. Now we can actually have our behavior tree run. So close that, keep that open for the time being. Nope. Don't need you, don't need you, don't need you, don't need you. Okay. So our behavior tree has its own stored whiteboard. Let's see. What's our basis gonna be here? say new node leaf. What's your problem? That should be fine. Should accept a node. Yep, extends from a node, that's fine. What do you mean it's undefined? Change constructor to behavior tree whiteboard node to, okay, right. Shouldn't it should accept this. Oh no, I missed a thing. And yes, that's correct. What's your problem? Oh, did I not make this a static? Huh. Okay. Keep giggling at the keyboard noises triggering the talking animation. Yeah. Just relentless clicking. No enclosing instance. Do I just want to separate node into its own thing? Probably. Probably. Closing instance file name node. There. Okay. Now our tree currently does heckle. So we're going to try and make something very simple here. We're going to start by having a sequence. I'm going to add a child here. And we're going to have this be a leaf node that basically just waits for a set amount of time. So let's say node leaf. In which our tick just basically increments an internal value. Witching hour, your favorite hour of the day? Let's see, values, call it, say 5 seconds. There. So that is just a sequence node that waits for 5 seconds before thinking about doing anything. And then we add another child, and we're just gonna have this one basically tell the mob to move like 5 blocks forward, essentially. What's your problem? Is that not? Oh, whiteboard. Forgot about the whiteboard. Am I aware of ivory cello in any capacity? No, I am not. What is ivory cello? Okay, so let's see. We want this to be 5 blocks ahead of the... 5 blocks ahead of where they were when they started this. So let's add an upleaf here, real quick. Set value, we'll call it destination, to mob in dot block position, offset 050. Okay, so now we have that value. Fairly straightforward. Very cool small trans Minecraft YouTuber. Okay. Unfamiliar, but neat. Okay, how do I set this thing to go? Because I want this basically to be running as long as the navigator is going. Starting, I guess we'll do this. And then we can reset that value. And that would be our dest.get x, dest.get y, dest.get z, and 1. I think that's speed. Get block position, destination. Correct that that's speed? Couldn't tell you, because none of these values are actually delineated at all. But the last value is speed. Okay, good. So around and around this goes, waits 5 seconds, sets the destination, moves to the destination. Or it should, if any part of this works. Right now, of course, it's not going to do a diddly damn thing, because we're not actually updating this at all. So that is our next stop. On the tick. We want to update our tree. Okay. Let's find out if this works at all, just in time for the end of stream. If it does work properly, what we should see is the mob moving forwards in 5 block increments, 5 seconds between moving. This is like the simplest I could possibly have made this thing run, really. Should have started moving by now. It does not appear to be. I did say a node sequence, right? Which means it should be moving between them. I'm guessing there's something up with this right now. really handy if I could also actually interrogate this thing. Eek. Okay, well, a pity, but getting something like this working first time was going to be kind of a mess anyways. But hey, we've got things passing data in between one another. That's pretty good. I might just make an actual wait node, but otherwise, yay. Looks like everything here should be just fine, I think. So it's probably just a matter of how the sequence node is working. Most probably. In which case... let's have some sysouts in here. Oh, I bet you it's because we don't have set running in here. Although for this, it kind of doesn't matter. Not sure. Yeah, the leaf nodes should be fine. Test entity has no task AI, so it is just doing whatever we tell it to do with this behavior tree at the moment. Are we gonna get some detail that explains to me what's going wrong here? Here's hoping. Okay, ticking 0. Ticking 2. It is going through its sequence, but I have a distinct sensation that it's doing it on both sides, which might explain a little bit. Resource lake is not closed? What? It's just this level. There. I suppose I could also just have a whiteboard value of time in current node. There is one slight downside, which you might have noticed to this particular implementation of a behavior tree, which is that behavior trees work best when you have a visual programming system, which we currently don't. Hang on. Oh, that's just the PNG. It's fine. Moving to 1, taking 1, moving to 2, taking 2, sequence complete. Okay, should our... Does that mean our destination is off then? It's not actually moving around at all? Oh, yes, it's 5 blocks in the air. That's why. That's why they're not moving. Because they have not been gifted with the power of flight. How unfortunate for them. So this has probably been working just fine the entire time, and I haven't been able to tell because I told them to do the literal impossible. Rip to them, but I'm much different. Yep, there we go. Wait 5 seconds, and... Haha! So that is a sequence behavior tree currently running. Nice. Yeah, perfect! So not a single piece of that is pre-scripted, excepting the fact that it's in a sequence. If something prevents them from moving to that point, then they will automatically rerun. They'll just go right through the thing. Yay! So that is a functioning behavior tree running perfectly through here. So it waits perfectly, it then stores data inside of the whiteboard for other tasks and such to use, and it retrieves it over here. So yay, good for us, good for us. I can now go through, I can make distinct versions of these nodes that are a bit more specific for what they do, that kind of thing. So like a go-to node, for instance, and then we just feed it the actual like variable storage location. A weight that just we just give it the value just perfectly fine. I processed so little of the last 3 hours because I'm in overtime at work, but boy, these streams make me wish I could code. Well, it's never too late to start, I think. At the very least, the mindset of how to code is frequently very, very, very useful in a whole things that aren't coding. Like, it's basically problem solving. That's all that's all that you need is problem solving. Ha! Prioritize learning 3D models. That is fair. That is fair. So yay! We have ourselves a working whiteboard and behavior tree system all in one evening. Except for the part where I asked them to go into the sky. But we can change exactly what that is, so yay. Right. Next week, we'll probably be continuing on with this quick little project, which I will then be folding into 119 Various Oddities once I actually get that to work at all. But we'll see. Yee! I'm very happy. This is fun. This is cool. This is really, really powerful and interesting, and I can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. Yee! But anyways, my next stream should be on Thursday with Midnight Shipping, which will probably be with Lucian once again playing some Space Engineers, and might actually feature me in the flesh suit again. Depends on when the CPU gets here and if it actually works, and also how quickly I can actually get it to work entirely at all. So bleh. But hopefully, then on Saturday we have our usual dose of the carousel, but also on Friday we have our now standard scheduled Down the Well installment, so you get to play with me, the witch. I'll be playing some more Aliens vs Predator. Mostly as the Marines, so I expect to die horribly, quite a bit. And then we'll be back for more of this on the Tuesday. Meanwhile, any videos I make, although that is a somewhat frustrated process at this exact moment, the most recent one is the debut of this model on youtube.com/lyingtube, and everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying. Hope you've all enjoyed. I'm very excited about this project, and I'll catch you all as ever next time. Bye!